All right, what is up? How we doing? Today we are talking about cardiac output, guys. Very exciting. Oh boy, I'm already messing this up. All right, so what is this? Very simply, it's the amount of blood that the heart pumps in a minute. I got it right there. All right, lesson's over. I'll see you guys for the exam. Cardiac output. Very simply, how much blood, right? We'll break it down to that. How much blood has been being pumped each time? And how fast? How often? That's what this is. That's what results in what is coming out of the heart. It's how much and how fast, okay? And the sciencey terms for this are, let me move this over a little bit, are stroke volume, so that's the amount of blood coming out at once, and heart rate, right? Measure this in mils or liters and measure this in beats per minute. Okay, so you basically multiply those together and you will get your cardiac output. Okay, so cardiac output is equal to stroke volume times, I like a space in there, stroke volume times heart rate. Easy peasy. All right, so cardiac output is equal to stroke volume times heart rate. Well, let's do some math here, guys. Everybody loves math. Average stroke volume is about 70 mils. Average heart rate, when I took it for myself, 72 beats per minute. It's probably a little faster now because I'm nervous. My sympathetic nervous system's going crazy. This equals about 5,000 milliliters, or about 5 liters, which is about all the blood that I have in my body. Every minute it is going through me. So 5 liters per minute. Okay, per minute. All right, that is, if I were to add that up over my whole life, that I did this calculation, that's about 100 million liters of blood that I've pumped in my life, which is about 40 Olympic swimming pools worth, which are about 3 semi-trucks long and like 1.5 wide or something. I calculated how many elephants it was too, but I don't remember how much that was. And 22%, I've pumped through my heart 22% of the volume of Coca-Cola that is drank in one day. Not even a quarter, guys. And I've been doing this my whole life. It's disgusting. Stop drinking so much Coca-Cola. Okay, so what we're going to do is first figure out how do we calculate this, and then what affects stroke volume. How do we calculate it, what affects it? And then we're going to figure out what affects heart rate. All right? So stroke volume, how do we calculate this? All right, this is a diagram of a heart that I draw. This is the left atrium and the left ventricle and the aorta. Okay, so how do we calculate this? Well, how much blood comes into the heart versus how much that's leaving. All right, so input and output. All right, well, how much blood is coming in here? Blood is coming in here during something called ventricle relaxation. So when the ventricle, sorry, I spelled that wrong. When the ventricle is relaxed, blood is coming into it. Okay, so the ventricle is nice and relaxed. It's filling up with blood. Well, the sciencey term for this is ventricle diastole. Okay, it means relaxation. Okay, I'm gonna make that smaller, make this bigger because this is science. Okay, this one's not as much science. So when the ventricle is relaxed, it's in diastole. And I had the dangdest time remembering what these words meant. So I'm going to give you a little mnemonic here. How do we remember that diastole means relaxed? Well, actually first, let's do that. So when we're talking about the heart, we talk about diastole, okay? Dia, it's a Greek word. It means to be drawn out, or diagonal. Okay, this is where we get diagonal from. This is the most drawn out, relaxed line you could draw through a square. Okay, you see if I rotate this, it's longer than any of the sides. Okay, so this is the most relaxed, drawn out part of that we could draw through a square. All right, that's how I remember this. Diastole means relaxed, drawn out. Okay, so there is a certain amount of blood that's going to fill in here, right? When it's all relaxed, let's say it's 135 milliliters. Okay, and this is at the end of diastole. So this would be end diastolic volume. Okay, if you don't know what this is, it's called a memory mnemonic. So this is how you remember things. You make up little systems. Okay, so we can make this all a little smaller now. And this is our end diastolic volume. Okay, then the heart's going to do what? It's going to go, and it's going to contract. Just like this bottle of water, if I were to squeeze it, would all the water come out? No. If I were to flip it over, yes. But if I were to just squeeze this, not all of the water would come out. So during ventricle contraction, some water is left. And we'll do this in, we'll do it in pink. Yeah, we'll do it in pink. So ventricle contraction, or science-y, we call this ventricle systole. Okay, sys, S-Y-S. How do I remember this? Well, this one's a little goofy, but the music genre I listened to the most when I was a child throughout my 20s was nu metal. So sys reminds me of System of a Down, which is very contracted. Why'd you leave the keys up on the table? They're gonna create another fable. You wanted to. You wanted to. Why have you? And then it relaxes. Then it goes into distally. Why have you forsaken me? Okay. So ventricle contraction is ventricle systole. And our end systolic volume, turn up the volume. Some of the blood's going to leave, but not all of it. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit left over, and let's say it's 65 mils. Okay, so we can do an equation here where we can take this end diastolic volume. I'm just going to recopy these. And we can subtract this. We can subtract that, and we can get what would be our stroke volume. Okay, it's kind of sloppy, but I'm trying to speed some stuff up. Okay, so we could take this value 135, right, our end diastolic volume, and we could subtract 65, right? Whoop. And this is going to give us our stroke volume, which is 70 mLs, just like it was before. Beautiful. Okay. So these are the things that are affecting, right, how much blood's coming in and how much is leaving. Those are the things that change stroke volume. Okay, so now we're going to talk about those. All right, so what changes stroke volume? I already gave you the hint, but there's 3 things and really kind of 4 we're going to talk about. Okay, one of them is preload, and I'll explain what these mean. Another is contractility. Okay, contractility. Let me make that uppercase C just to be consistent. And then the last is afterload. Afterload. Don't ask me why it's not called postload. Maybe it's too close to Post Malone. I don't know. He sued everybody's hearts because he's like, you can't call it postload. That's too close. Afterload. You can't call it postload. That's too close to Post Malone. I don't know. All right, preload, what is this? This is how much blood is coming into the heart, right? So how much blood is in our end diastolic volume? Okay, well, let's say this time we got a lot of blood. It's full. This boy's at 170 mLs. What's that going to do to the heart, right? Well, first, let's talk about how do we get a different amount of blood in here? Well, one of the ways is something called venous return. Man, my thumbs. Venous return. Oh, wow. Venous Atreu. Venous return. Okay? So let's say we are at rest. This would be the amount of venous return that we have. Just a little bit. Just a little bit for you. Let's say we are exercising. Now, what's going to happen when we're exercising? We're going to get More. Lots more. Bring it on. Okay, because our muscles are squeezing around our veins, right? Like your calves are called your second heart. You know, this is why they tell you to get up on a plane and stuff and move around. 60 to 70% of your blood is just chilling in your veins. So you start squeezing them veins, milking those veins, I've heard it called. You can milk them veins. Vein milking. You're going to get more blood into the heart, more venous return. Man, I'm being really silly. Okay? Some other ways we could increase this are just like hydration. If you're well hydrated, you have more volume, kind of playing off that antidiuretic hormone, also known as vasopressin. That's going to save water from your kidneys. Norepinephrine, okay? It's going to squeeze your little veins too, the smooth muscles around them, not just the cardiac muscles, but the smooth muscles. There's one other one that I'm kind of wanting to talk about, but I'm forgetting it. It's okay. So now we got more blood coming in if we're doing these things. All right, so this is going to affect our preload. And preload, since we got more blood in here, right? Like if I were to fill this up with extra water, a bunch of pressurize it, and then put the cap on, it's going to be pressing on the walls, right? Just like when you fill up a water balloon, it's stretching out that balloon. Okay? So just like a rubber band, when you stretch the rubber band and let it go, it's going to fly more. Okay? Your heart is a mechanically sensitive and responsive structure, tissue. It responds to mechanical cues and then it outputs those. Okay? And so more preload, more stretch, preload is stretch, okay, is going to end up resulting in more contractility. Okay, so this influences this. Okay, so I'm going to put a green arrow there. It's going to influence that. All right? All right, and we can even maybe say this. More stretch equals more contractility. Okay? All right. Well, this all was figured out by these two gentlemen. Otto Frank and Ernest Starling created this law, and Ernest built on Otto's work in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And what this gentleman did here, Ernest Starling, is he ripped the hearts out of dogs. He's a gentleman, don't worry. Okay, it's not a big deal. These were bad. These were reincarnated bad people. They were like, murderers and tyrants and pedophiles. Okay, so it's fine. Okay, he's a gentleman, like I said. What he found is he hooked these hearts up, these dog hearts, and he ripped out of there with his bare hands. He didn't use any tools. I'm just kidding. He hooked them up to this contraption where he could control the amount of blood he put into them. And what he found is that the blood he put in meant he got more blood out. Okay? Without a brain, blood in, blood out. Okay? That's what he got. All right? So this is called the Frank-Starling law, and it's the connectedness between preload and contractility. So the more you put in there, more it contracts. And this is a core part of cardiac muscle cells. If you remember the cardiac muscle cells here that I showed earlier, these guys are like two little gators. They're striated, branched, all that stuff. And if you get two of them in addition, they lock into each other. They will start to contract on their own. So this is ontological. It is a core part. That's what that means. It's a core part of their being to be mechanically active and sensitive. Okay? So they will contract just by being in a dish. That's how crazy heart muscle cells are. Okay, so the more preload we got, the more contractility we have. Okay, another thing we could do to affect contractility is, I'll just say norepinephrine. I'm just going to do nor to speed up. Norepinephrine, okay, because typing is hard. That's going to give you stronger contractions, okay? Other things will as well. Epinephrine too, and calcium and all kinds of stuff. All right, preload, stretch, contractility, the amount of force, okay? More stretch equals more contractility. I guess I didn't define this. It's just force of contraction. That's going to give you more stroke volume, right? All right, last but not least is afterload. And afterload's, it's an easy one. Okay, this is just resistance. That's it. It's just resistance. Okay, so something we could have is a stiff valve. Okay, that would be called stenosis. Okay, so you got a stiff valve. It's going to be hard for the blood to get out. Another thing you could have is one of my least favorite science words with this, which is atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis. I can spell it, but I don't like it. All right. And this is just, you know, plaques that form inside of our vascular system. And they are going to prevent the flow of material through it, right? It's going to provide more resistance, okay? So these are the three things: preload, contractility, afterload. And venous return is going to affect preload. That's why it's kind of 4. Okay, so you can think of preload basically as the amount of water we're opening up here from the spigot, right? Turn it more, turn it less. That's going to then affect preload. And then afterload you can think of as like you're putting your thumb over the hose, okay? So these are the three things that can change stroke volume: preload, contractility, and afterload. So let's put these up here. Preload, contractility, and what color is afterload? Is orange. Afterload. Okay, beautiful. So easy. Okay, I like them kind of like that. Okay, beautiful. Okay, let's move on now to heart rate, and I'm doing good on time. So, all right, so our heart rate, now this is how often, not how much, but how often. This is regulated by our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous systems, okay? So these are our autonomic nervous systems. They happen for us automatically, but we can do things to swing it one way or the other. Okay, so sympathetic. This is hard to remember, but I have a beautiful mnemonic for you, okay? Simp, the word's right in there, simp. If you don't know what a simp is someone who's pathetic, okay? A simp is way too excited about someone, okay? And the key word here, it's right here. You can probably guess what it is. It's excited, okay? So your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight. It's your excited nervous system. This is going to increase your heart rate, okay? And there's norepinephrine, I mentioned it. It's a neurotransmitter for this part of your nervous system. It's excitatory. It's also a hormone. And then epinephrine is released from your adrenal gland above your kidney. These are going to increase your heart rate and contractility also, okay? As well as do other things as well. Parasympathetic, this one, all right? Para, this word means around, okay? Around. So if you are around your simp, they will protect you, okay? So you're very relaxed, right? If you are around your simp and an assassin comes in and they try to shoot you, your simp's going to be like, no, that's my crush. And they're going to take the bullet for you, okay? So they're going to protect you. You feel really calm, like, all right, cool, I got a buffer here, right? This is your relaxed nervous system. This is your rest and digest. It's going to lower your heart rate. And the neurotransmitter involved with this is acetylcholine, okay? And you can stimulate this. You can stimulate either of these. You can lay in your bed and think about how you don't have enough for retirement and whatever, and you're going to get in an accident. That's going to cause your heart rate to go up. Or you can sit and you can do some deep belly breaths, and you can light a candle and you can take a bath, and that's going to activate this nervous system. And there's other ways that we can activate these exogenously. So something like caffeine, we can take that, and I had a student literally do this. He took a 300 milligram pre-workout and he went from 60 beats per minute to 160 beats per minute at resting heart rate, or at rest. It's crazy. Don't do that. It's a lot. And there are drugs that will affect the parasympathetic nervous system, but you can see how that's kind of dangerous, right? Because we can kill ourselves with it. Another way we can do this is we can inhibit the sympathetic nervous system. So we can add something like beta blockers, which are going to block the little receptors, the beta adrenergic receptors that these guys interact with. Okay, it's going to block those. Okay, or calcium channel blockers, which results in the kind of action potential happening and then the muscle contraction. So we can block this from doing its job. Okay, so I'm almost out of time. I got 10 seconds. We got sympathetic nervous system and we got parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. And let's not forget that cardiac output, the most important thing that it puts out, don't forget, it's low. Okay? It's low. This is the most important part. And that will be on the exam. So remember that.